is a chance for the President of the United States to use this disaster to carry out what his father, a phrase his father used, I think, only once, and hasn't been used since, and that is a new world order.
We are, as we have been saying this morning, in a state of war. The bulletin, the war is over.
It will never be over. It's going to be a continuing fight around the world.
To assume this regime's good faith is to bet the lives of millions.
In fact, there was a plan put together on May 1st, 1776 in Ingolstadt, Germany by Adam Weishaupt. Adam Weishaupt was a canon professor at Ingolstadt, and he and 5 men on that evening went into a cave, and they usually do these things in darkness. And they put together a plan how to infiltrate and to take over governments, working themselves into church and state, and how to bring their Luciferian, or Lucifer's ideology, the worship of Lucifer, into a situation for all the world to accept it, but not only accept it, but embrace it. And when you look at since 9/11, you can just see how people are embracing his philosophies. They're ready to go into bondage. We're already into bondage, but they're just opening their lives up to not standing up to be the stewards which God told us to be stewards over the freedoms and liberties which He gave us. Yeltsin and Yang. Yeltsin used to be with Russia. This is an older article. It's back in 1997, but I wanted to read this to you because it pertains tonight. It says the presidents of Russia and China agreed Wednesday to work towards a new world order in regional powers that would supplant the United States as the world's lone superpower. We're going to talk a lot about Iraq, but I want to tell you there's 2 regimes that have nuclear weapons that are much more evil than the Iraqi government. And I still call them the Communist Chinese or the Red Chinese. They still have their gulags. They still put people to death. They still have human rights abuses everywhere you turn.
The Kremlin has portrayed its campaign against separatist rebels as a fight against terrorism. But it is also about this, and about who will control it.
Millions of dollars in oil resources. I have been told by Russians that there is only one issue in Chechnya, and that it is indeed oil.
Caspian Sea oil, reserves so vast it's called the next Kuwait. President Clinton was announcing plans for a new Caspian oil pipeline that would leave out Russia entirely and give the West a chokehold over a huge new energy supply.
And all prior attempts to have a pipeline had to be done through Russia. Now, if there is to be a pipeline through Afghanistan, obviating the need to deal with Russia, it would also cost less than half of what a pipeline through Russia would cost. So financially and politically, there's a big prize to be had. A pipeline through Afghanistan down to the Pakistan coast would bring out that Central Asian oil easier and more cheaply.
Okay, why do you think Russia wanted to occupy Afghanistan and take control of that country, and we helped the Mujahideen, or the Al-Qaeda at that time? They were freedom fighters. They weren't Al-Qaeda. They were freedom fighters, the Mujahideen. And why did we arm them so Russia couldn't take the country over? Because they wanted to put the same pipeline through that we put through. And that was done by Unocal. Karzai used to work for Unocal. He's now the president that we put in place. We're basically putting regimes in place wherever we want to, whenever we want to. Our leadership is going around the world. And this is a plan that's been put in place a long time ago, and George Bush and his administration is doing exactly what he's told to do. It says China-Russia pledged friendship. challenging what they see as the threat of a new global order dominated by the United States. They're talking about they're challenging the new global order dominated by the United States. That's Yang and that's Putin. They're developing the friendship, they're developing the treaties, they're developing the ties. It says here Russia and China have found common ground recently on countering alleged global dominance by the United States.
Across the vast expanse of Russia, General Habiger saw the weapons built with America in mind. A Typhoon ballistic submarine, able to take out a continent in less than an hour. This train, with its hidden missiles, capable of launching 30 warheads on the move.
As part of what they showed you, they put on a launch drill of a Topo regiment for you, did they
yes.
not? The heart of that mobile system.
Yes. To see those doors of those garages open up and to see those missiles come out, I'll tell you, Dan, ran chills up and down my back.
Ready to stop, tilt its rockets to the sky, and launch within minutes of receiving an order.
Can they hit anything with this missile, this huge thing launched off the back of this truck?
Yes.
If they chose to, they could hit one of our cities with these things?
Once they put the target coordinates in there, yes, sir, they could.
But this is something most people assumed that we didn't have to worry about anymore.
No Russian missiles are pointed at the children of Minnesota and the United States for the first time since the dawn of the nuclear age. There are no Russian missiles pointing at these children here.
When the president told the American people over and over again in the last presidential campaign that the nuclear nightmare was over,
in the Cold War,
what he didn't say is that there was no way to verify that agreement and that many of the missiles can go right back on their Cold War targets within a minute.
Any rational person who has any sense of geopolitics knew that a lot was at stake, including perhaps the future of our country, because all of these weapons were still there. The fact that the Soviet Union had broken up did not mean they could not be targeted, retargeted again.
It's been a month since Boris Yeltsin threatened World War III if President Clinton bombed Iraq. And this is the moment General Habiger has chosen to begin his secretive diplomacy. The first stop for his guest of honor, Russia's nuclear commander, General Yakovlev, is America's nuclear war room.
If you want the honest truth about dealing with Russian generals, they're going to tell you what you want to hear and what they think they can use to wheedle something out of you.
A mysterious satellite photo, a frightening discovery. In 1989, the CIA learned that this vast complex of buildings in the depths of Siberia was the heart of what is called black biology. Vector, where nature's viruses were being harnessed as weapons.
David Rockefeller said, "We are on the verge of global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the world will accept the New World Order." And that's exactly what I believe the coming war in the Middle East is all about.